was 1956 when Jim Elliot, Nate Saint, and 3 other missionaries were martyred while attempting to reach the Waodani people in southern Ecuador. We know their sacrifices were not in vain, but 50 years later, as we make our way to this part of the country to meet, photograph, and pray for the people here, there are still many villages untouched by the gospel. Will we be able to reach some of them? Will anyone, for that matter, be able to get the gospel to the more than 200 unreached people groups hidden in this inaccessible jungle called the Amazon Basin? This is definitely a challenge for our time. Our journey to the Amazon began in Bogota, Colombia, where we connected with Terry, a missionary to the Amazon Basin, who would be our guide for the next 10 days. So, in looking out at the city here, is this more or less as far as we're able to go?
Yeah, here again you have a city of Bogota, about 9 million. We're about as far as you can go as North Americans, because once you get past the outskirts of the city, it just really becomes too dangerous.
Yeah, we probably need to go ahead and get on.
While we couldn't go outside the city limits, some from the outside had a way of making it in, like this Kogi believer who told us about the tremendous persecution he faces for being a Christian and the spiritual fear and depression his people live with.
If we can just get them the hope of Jesus Christ, they can be free from that bondage.
As the day was coming to an end, it was time for us to move on and catch up with missionary Russ Bear for what would be busy days of traveling just to get to the outer edge of the Amazon.
Here we are in Sacua, Ecuador, and our Mission Aviation Fellowship friends are here waiting for us to take us down further south on our journey, further into the jungle. But the weather's bad down south, so we're kind of waiting around for the clouds to lift a bit.
Eventually, today, half of our group was able to move on, but not all of us.
After Terry and I caught up with the rest of our expanding team, we had to travel several more hours before we got to the nearest village of an unreached people group called the Shuar. We finally pulled into a Shuar village, and when we arrived, we began talking with the village leader, who's known as kind of the president of the area villages for the Shuar. Everesto is his name. And he kind of gave us a tour of his village, and we talked with him and visited with some of the villagers.
Went up to a Shuar village that was a little further upriver and hiked about 15 minutes and went to a place where there was a typical Shuar house. And then the question was asked, well, tell me about your God. And then he went into detail when he was asked that question about how they find God through taking these hallucinogenic drugs. And after a while they start seeing visions. They'll even get under some of the waterfalls after taking these drugs, and they see visions and spirits.
Yesterday's attack breaking the mountains over there. We must have went up and up.
We just hiked for about an hour over a ridge through some muddy valleys to get to this remote village. As we've arrived here, we found out that just over that ridge over there is Peru, so we're right on the Peru-Ecuador border.